Hey Straw Hat crew, today I'm going to test out some 7-inch propellers on the Pigeon, and this is going to be useful for those who already have a Pigeon, or if you're interested in Cinelifters, this is kind of a good simulation because the Pigeon is a bit heavy for a 7-inch quad and it might simulate an X8 for you. So today we're going to test out just HQ and some Gemfan 7-inch props. I've got all the varieties that you can possibly get. All these props I purchased myself, so I won't be swayed by any kind of financial incentives or whatever. Alright, so first off I'm going to try out the Gemfan Polycarbonate 7037 props. And with these tests I'm going to just be using the same PID tune, and I'm going to tune as needed if I need to. These ones are pretty light at 6.5 grams, so I might actually have to bring down the PIDs a little bit because I might get some trilling oscillations. One thing to note is I'm not using the Gemfan 7035 black or white Cinelifter polycarbonate carbon props. Those ones I've already tried. They're like 4 grams. They're much too lightweight, and they have some fluttering issues on the Pigeon and possibly on Cinelifters as well. All right, Gemfan 7037 polycarbonate. Oh, do you hear that? Made a weird high-pitched noise, like a squeal. I think the PIDs are all right. It just doesn't feel like a lot of thrust. I mean, it's easily controllable, and I have better low-end throttle resolution, but it just doesn't feel very peppy. And I'm using a 1800 milliamp hour battery, so it's a lighter end of battery, great for acro, but I feel like the power is kind of lacking. For these tests, I'm focusing more on ultimate flight performance, less so on efficiency. More on smoothness and power and control. I mean, it flies well. And I'm also testing for prop explosions too. So I'm trying to stress it out as much as possible. Yeah, the PIDs seem fine. Sometimes I hear this high-pitched noise though. For the Gemfan 7037 polycarbonate, the tune I had already seemed to be pretty okay, but I just noticed the top end thrust and power seemed to be lacking a little bit. It did have really good low-end control, and I felt very comfortable when doing proximity and flying around the branches and catching myself after a dive. But I wanted more of that extra punch right at the top end. All right, let's give the Gemfan 7035 Carbon Nylon props a try. All right, Gemfan 7035 Carbon Nylon. Here we go. Okay. I hear this kind of buzzing noise a little bit. Oh, and that same high-pitched, interesting noise. I'm gonna come out of a harsh dive and see how it handles that. Okay, I guess I handled it pretty well. I kind of like these better than the polycarbonate ones. They just feel a bit more responsive.
It looks like it glides better.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I feel that too. Yeah, I like this prop. I think I like it a bit more than the polycarbonate one.
I think it sounds nicer.
Yeah? Oh yeah. Very good control on the low end. I feel like the top end is better too. It just feels crisper. Damn. Yeah, I like this a lot. Okay, first impression of this, I really like these ones a lot. Gemfan 7035 Carbon Nylon. What I noticed about it is it seems to have more punch than the Polycarbonate 7037, which is confusing because it's supposed to be a lower pitch. But it had really good low-end control and top-end control. Maybe not quite as much power as the HQ 7x3.5, but honestly, plenty of power for me. Obviously, no propeller explosions or anything like that either. Next up is the Gemfan 7037 Carbon Nylon propellers. And yeah, they look a little bit fatter, more aggressive. We'll see how it actually translates in the air. Gemfan 7037 Carbon Nylon. It seems to carry through the air a bit more though. Yeah, it's better for those crazy throwing acrobatic maneuvers. They're very smooth. I don't notice any vibrations. These are really solid. They don't produce they produce a pretty nice noise. Let me come out of a steep dive, see how it handles that. Oh yeah, that was good.
That was really good.
Yeah, nice clean buttery sound.
Yeah. That was the nicest one out of the three so far.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Now I can actually see in my goggles. I got a little scraggle. And the low end control. Yeah, the low end control isn't as great. I feel more careful. Okay, motor temps with the Gemfan 7037 Carbon Nylon are good. Wow, that's a lot of fun to fly actually. I enjoyed this one a lot. Definitely more control on the top end than the low end, and it seems to glide through the air pretty well. Okay, we got some banana action going on here. The HQ 7x5x3. This is the most aggressive 7-inch prop I've ever tried. It's also heavy too, at 8.9 grams or something close to that. HQ 7x5x3. Ooh, sounds smooth. Already sounds very smooth. Wow. I gotta say, this is the smoothest sounding prop already. It does scream a little bit, but it's a good scream. I can tell it's a heavy prop though. That's a hawk.
You scared the hawk.
Okay. I'll probably get more prop wash than the other props because it's a bit heavier. I don't really want to bother doing a new pit tune. Yeah, more prop wash. But not doing the low end technical stuff. This prop is great. Doing the big acro swoopy swoops, oh yeah, then you're in business. Dang. I feel like it's on par with the 7037 Gemfan Carbon Nylon in terms of speed and the punch. And the low end has a little bit more control on the low end, I feel. And it sounds a bit smoother to me, to my ears. But a drawback is that it is heavier. All right, so the HQ 7x5x3, it's not quite as fast as I was expecting. It seemed to be on par with the 7037 Gemfan Carbon Nylon, but it had really good low end control as far as like the throttle feel, like how much thrust you get versus how much throttle you give the stick. But it is a heavier prop, and I did feel a bit more prop wash. Back to my trusty 7x3.5x3 HQ props. These have been my go-to prop. We'll see how I like it compared to all 4 other props. And the battery is a little bit heavier. The rest of the runs were with the 1800 milliamp hour, but this is a 2000, so slightly heavier. HQ 7x3.5x3. Here we go. Sounds very smooth. Oh, damn. I really like this prop. It's good. Oh, shit. I don't know, like, this is really good. I just got so much control. And it still glides through the air really well. And it has good low end control. Tracks well in the wind. You can hear it buffeting in the wind, but the propellers are keeping it on track. A little bit of prop wash, definitely. It is still a heavy prop. It's the same weight as the 7x5x3s. But it doesn't have quite as bad a prop wash. Or, yeah, I think it has less rotational inertia, even though it's the same weight. Or it could be aerodynamic effects that improve the prop wash. And I am biased because this is my usual prop that I'm used to. So that's definitely going to influence how I feel flying through the air. Because I can predict how much throttle to give it more easily. Jeez, it's smooth all around at all throttle points. It sounds smooth and it feels smooth, and there's plenty of control. Yeah, even though this is my go-to prop, like I feel like it still has some distinct advantages. Subjective or objective advantages. Okay, so the first propeller I tested was the Gemfan 7037 Polycarbonate, and honestly, I didn't like these personally. They seem to be lacking in a lot of power, and they didn't hold up to the acrobatic kind of stuff. They made some funky noises, possibly due to the extra weight of the Pigeon, because this payload is about 500 grams. It's meant to simulate both the camera cage and a small compact micro four thirds lens. So it was making some funky noises when coming out of dives and doing power loops, and the overall noise was not super smooth, and then the power and thrust was lacking a little bit. But it did feel good on the low end in terms of low end control feel. It is branded as a Cinelifter prop, so maybe acrobatics is not what they were going for with this propeller. So a closer look at this propeller, the blade profile looks very similar to the Carbon Nylon versions of the Gemfan props, but it's not quite as stiff because it's just polycarbonate. It doesn't have any reinforcement. And yeah, I'm not a propeller designer, but I suspect that the flatter profile is better, more conducive for steady state level kind of flying. And when you're doing acro, the higher surface area tends to be buffeted around by the wind a bit more. I could be totally wrong with that. I'm sure Mike, you can comment down in the comments below. Tell me I'm wrong and tell me why it is that way. But that's just my guess and my experiences from these flights. All right, so the Gemfan 7035 Carbon Nylon was the second propeller that I flew, and I enjoyed the low end. I felt like it was just better overall than the 7037. The downside with this propeller, though, I didn't notice it in the first flight, but in my second flight, I noticed a vibrating noise, like a kind of a noise. And I don't know what that's caused by. It is a pretty lightweight prop at only 6.9 grams. So maybe it's kind of oscillating under the heavy loads or the turbulence. Not sure what's going on there. But certainly for like steady, slow flying and close proximity stuff, this propeller is really great. And it has very little prop wash. But I do notice some weird noises at the top end and not quite as good of a control feel as it does on the low end of the throttle range. So here's a close-up of this propeller. Once again, the profile is pretty similar to the other Gemfan blades, but it's a little bit narrower than the 7037, and the stiffness it's really quite stiff for being such a lightweight propeller, which is pretty impressive. And it does have this popo notches in it, which I'm not a huge fan of. I feel like maybe that could cause some stress concentrations, but I never had any issues with exploding propellers with this prop, and I put 2 batteries through it, going pretty aggressively. The third prop I tried was the 7037 Gemfan, and the first flight I really liked them in comparison to the 7035, but what I noticed on my second trial when I flew it more aggressively was that when trying the acrobatic maneuvers, where I tilt the drone suddenly and it's going in a direction abnormal to normal steady state flight, I was getting some like bumpiness, and I feel like that's possibly due to the pretty fat blade profile. The blade shape of this propeller is similar to the 7035 and then the polycarbonate 7037, but it is quite a bit wider, and of course, you know, it's more aggressive. The scoopy scoop scoops more air, but it's incredibly stiff. Like, it's very, very stiff, which is pretty cool. So yeah, this is what it looks like. So this was the last of the new propellers I was trying, the HQ 7x5x3. This one was pretty interesting and definitely put a smile on my face. Like, this one has a lot of control and smoothness on the top end. It's just overall very smooth prop, even at all throttle ranges. The sound it produces and the stability in the air is all very smooth and sleek, and it glides through the air very well, and it's great for acro. The battery performance isn't quite as good as the HQ 7x3.5, but it's still not bad. It's totally acceptable. This would be a great propeller for someone who's doing lots of top-end work with their drone as far as the speed, and who does really fast acro stuff. But overall, I really enjoyed this propeller. The bottom end is not quite as good as some of the other propellers as far as control feel, but it's definitely smooth at all throttle ranges, and it sounds great in the air. Taking a closer look at this prop, it's kind of got this curviness, sort of like a banana. It kind of reminds me of the Gemfan 9045 propellers. But yeah, it's quite different in blade profile compared to the 7x3.5 propellers before. It's more curvy. It's still pretty slender though, and I think that helps the quad glide through the air a bit better because it's less surface area for the air to hit it at skewed angles. So my trusty 7x3.5x3 HQ props still are really good. Like, they might still be my favorite because, I don't know, like, the amount of thrust and punch is on par with like the Gemfan 7035 and 7037s. It's kind of maybe a mixture between those two. But what's great about this one is its control feel is great, both at the low end and the top end. And the way it glides through the air is very nice. Like it has a lot of control even when doing those snap movements, when doing the acro stuff, but it really throws through the air quite well, and you can carry your momentum pretty effectively. A closer look at this guy. As you can see, the profile is quite slender compared to the other propellers, and it's also not curvy, it's straight. Now for my final ranking of these propellers. Keep in mind this is on the Pigeon, so this is a very niche use case for these propellers, but you might be able to glean some extra information for application with Cinelifters. Fuck. Okay. Ranked lowest is the Gemfan 7037 Polycarbonate. My issues with this one was, although it had a more aggressive pitch, it didn't seem to produce a ton of thrust, and it produced some weird noises and jankiness at various throttle ranges, especially the higher throttle ranges coming out of dives and doing power loops. Ranked fourth is the Gemfan 7035. These feel really good on the low end and are great for smooth, low speed, high efficiency kind of flights. The issues with this one is at higher speeds and doing aggressive maneuvers, I could hear some pretty concerning noises like the vibrations, and the top end control feel wasn't as great as the others. My third favorite is the Gemfan 7037 Carbon Nylon props. These ones were great because throughout most of the throttle ranges you didn't get any weird vibrations or noises, and the top end control feel was pretty good, although it did get buffeted around by the wind a bit more when doing inverted or flippy floppies. The low end, the control feel wasn't quite as good as some of the others, but overall it's a pretty decent prop. My second favorite is the HQ 7x5x3. The low end is, you got to be more careful. It's probably going to take more practice. In addition, the prop wash is a little bit worse with this prop since it's pretty heavy and aggressive. But with a little bit extra tuning and some getting used to the low end, I think this prop is a great substitute for my favorite prop because the top end is very smooth, it's very controlled, and it's so smooth at every throttle level. I feel like I have so much control, and it's just a lot of fun. The top speed is also pretty good too, and you can really turn it into a rocket. Now for my favorite. This has always been my favorite, and I am biased because of this, but keep this in mind. But I will say, objectively, it's very smooth and great control feel at both the low and the high throttle ranges. There's no issues with weird vibrations. They're well balanced, so the footage is always going to be nice and smooth. And I just feel like the range of control feel is very wide on this propeller. And the way it just glides through the air when I'm doing flips and stuff, it's perfect. Trust me. You got to try it yourself. Cut!